Yeah, not too bad. So what you just saw me make was this little taper. This, on the end of this little rod. It's what I do to warm up every time I come out to the forge. I make something really small just to get used to making stuff. And then this bigger bit that I've got on the fire, that is to make the punch, to make the hole in the head of the eye. So where the handle goes into, this is the tool that makes the hole in it. As you can see, it gets quite hot. So that's the coloration. That's what we use to indicate different heat. So if it's really, really hot, the colour will be lighter. And if it's really, really cold, the colour will be darker. All right, so basically, the forge is a really, really hot fire, obviously. So it's a coal fire, so I'm using coal. And then this blower on the side, let me set, I'll show you. The blower here, when I spin it, pushes air into the forge, and then that gets really, really hot, basically. So all that does is just introduce more air and heat into the fire to get it hotter. Because a coal fire by itself would be really cold. It just would be an ordinary fire. Whereas this really, you can crank it up, it gets hotter. Yeah. So I've got an axe here for reference. So that hole in the middle there is going to be punched out with this bit of metal. We'll push it through like that. Obviously on a different piece of metal on the actual axe itself. It will get pushed through when it's hot, and that will create the eye, is what we call it, of the axe. So that's the first tool almost done. So this is the punch, this is what makes the hole. And once we've got the hole in our axe, we need to do what's called drifting it. We need to make it bigger and wider, so it will so it'll accept the handle. So what I'm going to do now is put it back in the forge to heat up this middle section here, and then I will do what's called hot cutting. So it's when it's hot, I cut it. Pretty self-explanatory. I hot cut it to get the handle section for this chisel. That's a very good question. The forge. So this is able to melt steel up to, you know, probably 2 inches thick. So you can do the maths on that. A good 1,000 degrees. I know I've melted steel that is a bit more than that. So probably, yeah, probably 2.5 inches thick. So yeah, it gets very, very hot. So probably, yeah, about 1,000 degrees. So what I just did then was I took a bit of metal out of the forge, and then on the anvil I've got what's called a hot cut, which is this little tool here, and that basically puts a little mark in the metal where I'm about to cut it in a minute. Oh, hello. So as you can see, there we go. I started cutting through the main section of the chisel, and then the next heat I will cut it off fully. So that's it cut off. Yeah, so that's it cut off. It gets very hot, obviously. So I got to cool that end down in a big bucket of water. And then this other end, I'll pick up and then flatten that end off, because where I cut it, it's all jagged. You see, it's nothing to be holding your hand with. So we'll cut that off. Not cut it off, sorry. Forge it down so it's a little bit more, little bit nicer to work with. That's a good question. So making an axe is probably, I don't know, anywhere from half an hour to an hour, maybe, probably even longer if I'm being really intricate. But you know, so it can take a while, but it can also take. It can be really quick, but it won't obviously be as nice. Just for today, I'm making the tools to make them with. I've already, I've made axes in the past, so I've already got the tools and stuff for them, But yeah, so just demonstration purposes, I'm making the tools today. So it's obviously going to take a bit longer. So now I'm just putting a chamfer on the top so it doesn't, what we call, mushroom over. So that's the main forging of the chisel done. Just make sure it's straight. And now we're going to put it back in the forge and do something called heat treating. So I'll put that in there and then talk to you about that. So if you guys have got any questions, feel free to put them in the comments. I'll try my best to answer them. Yes, so heat treating process takes high carbon steel. So mild steel normally has a carbon content of around 0.03, I think. And then high carbon steel has obviously got more than that. And that means it can retain an edge. So mild steel, you can't harden it. So it just stays soft. So if you try to make a tool or anything out of it, it will just mushroom over and it won't work. Whereas high carbon steel, you can heat treat it, and then you can very good question. So to heat treat a mild steel, you need to no, you can't heat treat mild steel. To heat treat high carbon steel, you need to have your metal so where it's non-magnetic. So ordinary steel, obviously, because it's ferrous, is magnetic. But when it gets hot, it stops becoming magnetic. But that's only at a certain temperature. So obviously you can use a thermometer or something like that to work out the temperature of it. Or you can just get a magnet, pop it on there, and if it sticks, it's too cold, If it doesn't stick, it's perfect temperature. It's a croissant. It's quite nice. So now what I'm looking for, so I've done the hardening, that was in the water. Now what I'm looking for is colours on the metal. So it'll go like a sort of straw colour, a yellow, and then it will turn blue, and then it will obviously go red. So that's the colours it goes up in. And I want to stop it from increasing its heat once it goes to a straw colour, so the yellow. And this section at the back is still hot, so that will transfer its heat all the way up to the tip. And when the tip gets to that yellow sort of straw colour, I'll put it back in the water, and then it will be finished, done, and I can start making the axe. Oh wait, no, I need to make a drift. Then I'll start making a drift. So that's reached the straw colour, so it's going back in the water. And that's cooled off quite nicely. Just check it's cold. And then once that's cooled off, I'll pop into the workshop, grind an edge on that, and I'll be out in a tickety boo. Right, so that's the chisel done with an edge ground on the top. And yes, so I'll start with, very funny, very, very funny. So I'll talk, no. So I've done the chisel. Now I need to make a drift. And I'll do that out of the same metal we still had at the start. Make sure the end's nice and blunt. So if you guys have got any questions, just pop them in the comments and I'll try my best to answer them. And yeah. So what I'm attempting with this is I need to get the diameter, not the diameter, the size of the start of the drift has to be the same size as the punch, so that way the drift can open up the hole that is the same size. If that makes sense. In effect, the same process at the start with making the chisel as it is with the drift, except the drift is going to have a wider shaft. So, very good question. So the thing I'm making currently is a tool to start making the axe. So, good thing about a blacksmith is 95% of the tools that I use, I can make. So that means that for making an axe like this one, there's a few tools that are involved. Just a little axe head there. So that hole in the middle, that needs to be punched with something. That hole needs to be made somehow. And I'm going to do that using the tool that I've just made. So this chisel is going to go in like that, hit down, and then that will make the hole. But that hole isn't big enough to fit an axe handle. So I'm going to use what's called a drift to drift the hole bigger, wider, so it'll fit the acceptor handle. two very good questions. So the bit of metal with the axe. What was it? Right, yes. So, just put this back in the forge. So the axe is going to be made out of one whole piece of metal, that is probably about 6 inches long. And then what I'm going to do is upset it. So I'm going to take the metal that's this big, I'm going to squish it like that, which will thus make it wider, so I can make a bigger axe out of it. Because if it was thinner, then there won't be enough mass to the axe that I can make a usable, functional axe with. Otherwise, it'll have to be little and tiny and not really worth it. Then the anvils. So this is a Peter Wright London pattern anvil, and it can last. I've seen people work on anvils from anywhere from brand new to 200, even 300 years old. So if you think about it, it's just a fancy, expensive hunk of steel. It's got all of these fancy radiuses and tools and holes and stuff, but realistically, all it is a big bit of steel. So as long as it's, it's fairly corrosion resistant because of its thickness. So it's not going to, wear away because it's rusted or anything. And it's not going to wear away because it's too thin or anything. No, it doesn't. So as you can see with this tool that I'm making, it's got a lot more width to it. It's a lot wider. Well, it will be a lot wider at least than the other one, and that's so I can get length to the eye hole, and get length to the what's it called? The socket of the axe. Because if it was a perfect circle, then the axe handle would twist. We don't want that. Doing the last finishing touches to this tool, to the drift, and then I'll start forging the axe. Right, I think I'm going to cut this off with an angle grinder, just because I don't think I've got that length to fit at the back of the forge. So I will go and do that. And I'll be back in a tickety-boo. Right, I'm back. So that's it, cut off most of the way. That's it, cut off all the way. Oh, that's very hot. Right, so that's the drift. Now this one doesn't need to be hardened because it'll be in a hot axe head for quite a while. So any hardness I put on it will come off after a while. So there's no point putting any sort of harden or even a temper on it. It'll just come off. What I am going to do, so I do with all my tools, is I'm going to put a chamfer on one edge. And this then again just stops it mushrooming over and splaying out, and then it becomes quite dangerous. Right, so that's the drift done and the punch. Two tools there. There's the wider one that makes the hole bigger, and then the punch is the smaller one that creates the hole. So let's get an axe making. That doesn't make sense. Let's make an axe. That does. Right. So what should we do? Use something else. Right, so the bit of metal we're using is a bit of high carbon steel. I'm first going to upset the end, so hitting it downwards to make it thicker, so we can make the head of the axe. And then we're going to turn it on its... No, we're not. We're going to upset it first. Then we're going to punch a hole in the head. For the head, sorry. No, in the head for the hole. There we go. And then we're going to splay out the top to make the cutting edge. So we'll put that in the forge. That's cool. Why are you going to London then? Watching something? Theatre or something? Stone cold. That's cool. Why are you going to London then? You watching anything? You going to theatre or something? Or just feel like it? Sun's come out. It's nice. Oh, nice. So this first section where it's warming up is going to take a while because it's almost an inch thick and it's stone cold. So it's going to take a while to heat up. Hence, it's been in the forge for quite a while. And then after that, each heat will be a lot more frequent because it'll be hotter. The bar will retain more heat. There we go. So this first section is upsetting this top part. Get some tongs because that's getting quite hot. Make sure it's staying straight and even. And as you can see already, that's getting significantly thicker. So that section at the top is a lot wider than that section there. And that's purely because I'm hitting it down. So it'll get hotter. No, not hotter, thicker. Dropped it. It's amazing. Right, so I'm just going to cool down the handle section that I was holding. Look at that, it's almost been an hour. I have to hold it in the water for quite a while because it's quite thick. Alright, so that's nice and cooler. Chuck that back in the forge. So I've started to upset the top end, so that's getting nice and thick now. So I'm just going to square it off so it stays flat on the anvil. Talking to no one. Yeah, it's perfect. So as you can see, it's starting to get a lot thicker. Focus. So that's going to start to become the head section of the axe. And now I'm going to flatten off a section behind it to be where the eye gets punched. So once I've finished upsetting it, once I've finished making it fatter on the top, I'm going to weld a handle onto the back so I can hold it further away from the heat, so I don't burn my hand. Oh, that's not getting nice. It's getting quite wet. Just pop you there. And then carry on forging. You can't tell, it's raining quite a lot. Might bring the matches inside. Now it gets quite difficult to forge in the rain. I'll just power through. Tongs again. Right, I think that's sufficiently upset. And now I'm going to start forging out the end. Right, it's quite wet. It's a lot of rain, but I'm just going to carry on and power through. Hopefully, I won't get too wet, or my cameras to get too wet. Right, I'm just going to try something out. See if I can move you guys under the shelter. Hopefully it's not too far away. Now it works. There you go. So now, hopefully, I might move you back a bit more. Alright, there we go. So hopefully now, hopefully stay dry within reason. Okay, let's get outside. Right, let's start punching this hole then. Oh, I got to flatten out first. going to step under the shelter for a bit. Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. As you can tell, it's quite wet outside, so I've moved all my camera gear inside under the shelter. I'm just going to hope for the best. That's way too high. Still pretty high. It's a lot worse than it looks on camera. I can trust you. No, trust me. There you go, that's better. I'm just gonna wait out this rain. Hopefully it clears up. I can get back out foraging, but it's not looking good. I can say that. Yeah, no, it's getting quite wet out there. So I'm just gonna wait it out. If there's any questions you guys have, I'll try to answer them. Right, let's get out of foraging. It's quite wet. A lot of rain. Not very nice. Right, let's start pushing this hole. Use our brand new tool that I just made. Make sure it's centered. Tap. Floor. Another little tap. Don't drop it on the floor. Oh, please don't drop it on the floor. Chuck this back in the floors, but first I'm going to cool down this end. It's getting quite hot. So, just waiting for the bit of metal to heat up.